Yale, illuminating minds, shaping futures. Yale, where innovations and traditions coexist. Yale, where leaders are made. Yale, where intellect thrives. Yale, that hanged stable boys for petty crimes. Yale, that flogged men till their bones leaked marrow. Yale, that made a business out of selling people. And welcome to the Atul Mishra Show, where I dissect matters of national and international importance. Consider this a solo podcast. Someday we may even have guests. Who knows? Teaser, please. Yale University, established in 1701, is the third oldest higher educational institution in the US. The name Yale came from Elihu Yale, whose first donation to the school was in 1713, consisting of 32 books. The original name of the institution was the Collegiate School at Saybrook. In 1716, the school moved to New Haven. A significant change occurred in 1718 when Cotton Mather, a prominent American Congregational minister, proposed renaming the school after Yale if he made a substantial donation. Yale responded with a donation of books, textiles, and of course a portrait of King George I, which was sold for £800. This amount, a considerable sum at the time, was used for the construction of the new college. Elihu Yale's donation was the largest private contribution to the college for the next century. This marked the beginning of Yale University's journey, with Yale's name symbolizing educational, what's that word? Philanthropy. His book donation set a precedent for the institution's growth and global impact. In 2016, Yale University faced controversy over Calhoun College, named after John C. Calhoun, a former US vice president who openly supported slavery. Facing public pressure, the university removed Calhoun's portrait and renamed the college in 2017. This incident highlighted a broader issue. In 2007, Yale had discreetly replaced a portrait of Elihu Yale. The original portrait showed Yale with a dark skinned boy, a Tamil Indian, in a slave like position with a metal clamp around his neck. This raised questions about Yale's historical connections to slavery and its impact on the university's legacy. Yale University's association with its namesake, LU Yale, came under scrutiny due to his involvement in the slave trade. Despite initial defenses claiming LU was not exactly a slave owner, historical evidences suggested otherwise. Research indicated that Yale played a significant role in the slave trade. He oversaw brutal practices against slaves. Now, this discovery sparked a debate at Yale University. LU Yale's contributions were foundational to the institution, but his slave trade involvement conflicted with the university's current ethical standards. This situation challenged Yale's historical narrative, linking its past with colonialism and slavery. The renaming of Calhoun College highlighted the need for deeper introspection into Yale's legacy and the implications of honoring LU Yale. So, who was this LU Yale? LU Yale was born in 1649 in Massachusetts and moved to London at age 3. He joined the East India Company in 1671 and moved to Madras, India in 1672. During the 1680s, famine in Madras led to an increase in the slave trade, with many young people, including children, were forcibly taken. Yale, as the governor of Madras from 1687, intensified this trade, mandating each ship to carry at least 10 slaves. In 1688, Yale stopped the slave trade due to diminishing returns and increasing difficulties in capturing slaves. He framed this decision as a business strategy, though he had already profited significantly from the trade. At the time, Western society did not condemn slavery, and Yale's action echoed the sentiments. Yale's controversies extended beyond professional conduct. He often broke company rules by conducting unauthorized personal trades, competing with his employer. Elihu Yale's tenure in Chennai, formerly Madras, included his marriage to Catherine Heinmers at St. Mary's Church, Fort St. George, the first recorded wedding there. Catherine was the widow of a former Madras governor. Yale later abandoned her for affairs with two rich businesswomen, leveraging their wealth and contacts. Elihu Yale's governance as the governor was marked by corruption and brutality. He misused company funds for private investments and imposed heavy taxes, making him widely unpopular. His harsh treatment of locals included ordering the hanging of a stable boy without trial. Yale's private action eventually led to his dismissal from the East India Company in 1692. Despite this, he continued his questionable activities until 1699. With the accusers gone, Yale returned to England, wealthy and unscathed, settling in Queen's Square and gaining the nickname the Nabob of Queen Square. Yale started as a low level company writer with an annual salary of £10. But by his departure from India, he had amassed considerable wealth. According to Charles Dameron's review in the Wall Street Journal, the size of Yale's fortune was unclear but significant enough for 7 auctions posthumously. Back in England, Yale engaged in the diamond trade and, of course, the famous philanthropy. Elihu Yale was labeled the most overrated philanthropist by American Heritage magazine. Historian Vakula S. Varadarajan, as reported in The Hindu, described Yale as an arrogant, ruthless braggart known for scandalous relationships. His contribution to Yale College was mainly books and goods worth £800. Kimball discussed Yale's darker actions, including his involvement in brutal flogging of slaves, hanging a stable boy without a trial, and his removal from his post in India for rampant corruption. He questioned the compatibility of these actions with Yale University's value under Peter Salovey. Kimball argued that Yale University should address its racist legacy by focusing on Elihu Yale, not just John C. Calhoun. He described Yale as worse than Calhoun. Yale's involvement in the export of Indian children as slaves during his time in Chennai is a significant aspect of his legacy. Yale accumulated wealth through illegal profiteering and slavery. Despite his promise of a substantial donation to Yale College, Yale died before fulfilling it. The sale of his belongings, including books and textiles, netted £562, cementing his legacy with the university. His wealth, largely accrued from the slave trade, contributed to the founding of what became Yale University. A blog titled Elihu Yale was a slave trader on digital histories at Yale highlights his involvement in the slave trade. Yale, as governor and president of Madras, enforced the 10 slave per boat rule and was involved in punishing and enslaving black criminals. That's Indians for you. Yale University's legacy intertwined with slavery and colonial exploitation is similar to other prestigious American universities. Craig Stephen Wilder's 2013 book, Ebony and Ivy, exposes the histories of institutions like Harvard, Yale, Brown, Columbia, Princeton, Dartmouth, and Rutgers. These universities were active in slavery, supported by plantation, wealth, and slave owning trustees. They continued to benefit from slavery even after the 1808 ban on African slave imports. Yale University's story, tied to Elihu Yale's legacy, reflects the uncomfortable realities beneath the prestige of such prestigious institutions. Despite being a top university, Yale's history is tainted by its namesake's involvement in the slave trade market and unethical practices. Yale University's reputation as a leading academic institution and its depiction of Elihu Yale as a merchant and philanthropist contrast with these darker aspects. Will Yale, the school, ever change its name now that Yale, the man, is long exposed and long dead?